I'd like to make some more videos featuring the Dreamcast and its awesome library, but I recently discovered that the audio output from my VGA box isn't working. The Dreamcast outputs a 480p video signal over VGA, but not all games support 480p output, so most VGA solutions use a breakout box like this one. This design allows you to switch between composite and S-video output and VGA output with a switch. The Dreamcast needs to be off in order to switch video modes, but this still beats physically switching cables out when a game requires it. Since this is a cheap clone of Sega's official VGA box, I'm guessing something has gone wrong with mine. The box comes apart easily by removing the 4 screws on its underside. With the 2 halves of the shell apart, the board comes out with a little wiggling. On inspection, nothing seems out of order. I don't see any signs of venting or leakage on any of the capacitors. I'm also not seeing any broken solder joints, although those can be hard to spot with the naked eye. The only thing that's standing out to me is that the board is generally dirty, so I'll clean it up with some rubbing alcohol and an old toothbrush. Now that the board's clean, I can take a closer look at the solder joints. The through holes for the connection to the Dreamcast look messy, but they don't appear to be broken or shorted out. Everything under the mess of hot glue looks okay, but I'll bend some of the leftover wire on the underside away from the adjacent joints, just in case these have shorted out from bending or growing whiskers. Metal whiskers are a real thing, by the way. If you struggle with the transient nature of all thought and matter, don't look that up on Wikipedia. Oh, that's just me? Never mind then. While the joints to the external connectors all look okay, I'm going to reflow the solder on the headphone jack to clean it up and fix the joints if they're broken. There's so much solder on these joints that even after removing some with a pump, there's enough left over to reflow the joint and make it much cleaner. I also noticed the solder on this through hole could be making a cold joint, so I'll reflow it as well. Now that I've cleaned up the solder, I also see these 2 resistors and capacitors, which are definitely part of the audio circuit. My multimeter doesn't have a capacitance testing function, but after inspecting these capacitors again, they seem fine, and they haven't shorted out either. After double checking how to read the codes on the resistors, those are testing within their expected value as well. The traces on them are so small that I found it easier to get a reading by tapping the legs of the headphone jack on one side. I'm starting to run out of ideas for exactly what could be wrong with this board. Nothing seems out of place after cleaning, inspection, and reflowing a couple of suspicious joints. I also tested the audio cable, which is built into this VGA cable off camera, so I know that's working. I'm going to hook this back up and give it another look. After all that, I'm still not getting sound from my amplifier when the Dreamcast is in VGA mode. But the sound is working in composite and S-video mode, so we know for certain that the box is getting an audio signal from the Dreamcast. On a whim, I'll try connecting the audio output from my VGA cable to another device just to make sure the issue isn't somewhere in my home theater setup. Just like everyone else, I have a favorite CD that I use to test sound systems and equipment. After mumbling about how hard it is to find something that accepts audio from a headphone cable these days, I grabbed a portable speaker to connect to the Dreamcast. Sure enough, the soothing sounds of Ray Lynch are coming through, loud and clear. I'm glad the VGA box seems to be working, but figuring out where the issue lies in this embarrassing tangle of cables is not my idea of a good time. I tried eliminating a few cables and testing again with no luck, so it's time to grab the flashlight and make sure everything is configured the way I think it is. VGA is assigned to video 3 on the OSS-C, and the audio, well, this is embarrassing. I thought there was a single 3.5mm audio input on the OSS-C shared between the component and VGA inputs, but I was wrong. One input is shared between component and SCART, while VGA has its own dedicated input. I was connecting the Dreamcast to the wrong audio input on the OSS-C, because everything else I connect to the OSS-C is over the component video input. Audio works fine once it's hooked up correctly. Truly a shocking revelation. This isn't the first time I've gone through the effort of planning and recording a video, only to wonder whether it's worth editing and uploading. In this case, I think there are 2 lessons we can take away. First, in a complex system, never make an assumption about where an issue lies. Always narrow the possibilities down as much as you can before diving deeper. Second, when troubleshooting individual devices, always start by ruling out causes which are easiest to test. Don't spend an hour reflowing solder and triple checking individual components of a circuit before you're absolutely certain that something isn't doing what it's supposed to do. It's easy to lose sight of the basics when jumping headfirst into a problem, and I know I'm not the only person who's done something like this before. I'd love to hear your stories in the comments. That's it for this video. I'm Alex from Restore Revise, and I'll see you next time.